Are you ready to finally make that dream a reality? Maybe it's updating your kitchen, paying down high-interest credit cards, or covering tuition. Your home is more than where you live. It's also your most powerful asset. At Unlock, we make it simple to turn equity into options. With a home equity agreement, you can access cash today without taking on another monthly payment. Imagine the freedom to invest in your home, reduce financial stress, or finally start that big project you've been putting off. It's your home. It's your future. Unlock it today. Visit unlock.com to learn more about a home equity agreement. That's unlock.com to learn more.
Terms and conditions apply. Not all homeowners will qualify. Not available in all states. Actor Portrayal. Home equity agreements are offered by Unlock Home Equity Solutions, Inc. In certain states, NMLS number 2657081. Visit www.consumeraccess.org for more info.
Welcome back to Come Back with a Warrant podcast. I'm Brandon Dinetz.
And I'm Monica Ishak. Before we kickstart this week's episode, this is your reminder that this podcast is not legal advice. It's real, unfiltered, and for entertainment purposes only. If you need to speak with a lawyer, call one. Or better yet, call us.
All right, so we've made it to episode 3 of our 3-part series on Jeffrey Epstein and the Epstein Files. And in this episode, we are going to be talking all about the conspiracies that exist around Jeffrey Epstein and the Epstein Files. We're not going to get into all of them because there are so many, and it seems like every time you scroll on Instagram or TikTok, you find a new theory to start investigating and going down. But we're going to talk about some of the bigger conspiracies that exist in the cases and what our take is on them and kind of where things stand. As we told you in episode 1, we talked about the 2008 case and the Palm Beach roots behind Jeffrey Epstein's first, real exposure as a monster to the public, which happened in 2008, 2009. In episode 2, we talked to you all about the Epstein Files, the 3.5 million that have been released so far, the different players that are involved, and some of the people that are really taking the heat right now and facing some of the ramifications of being involved and being associated with Epstein. And now, episode 3, we're going to talk to you about the conspiracies. And
the biggest one, obviously, is if he's dead or alive.
All right, so.
That has been going on since the date of his death, literally.
So the question, it's a 2-part question. First question, is he alive or is he dead? And if he is dead, did he kill himself or was he killed? There is a mixed bag of answers to all of this. But what it seems like, ultimately.
That man alive.
That guy is alive somewhere.
Yeah, he is.
And
somewhere.
It makes a lot of sense that with somebody with the type of connections and power he had, that he would be able to pull off something like that.
Yeah.
One of the things that you mentioned to me, not during an episode, that stuck with me is why would he kill himself when the first time he went through the rigmarole of going against the government, he came out fairly unscathed.
Yeah.
Why would he kill himself this time? And I agree with you. Yeah. I don't think that he would. No. And I don't think that he did.
No.
What we know is that in 2019, after a bond hearing, Jeffrey Epstein allegedly, after being denied bond, hangs himself in the Metropolitan Department of Corrections in New York, and which is the maximum security, which has held El Chapo and has held some of the worst that we've ever had in this country.
Yeah.
He was able to somehow exploit a problem with the cameras and a problem with the staff, and was somehow able to find a window of time where he, and this is the narrative that we're being fed, was able to find a window of time to use his bed sheets and hang himself. That's what the narrative is, okay? this gets called into question in a bunch of different ways. First off, nobody really is buying it out the gate. Okay. Attorney General at the time, Bill Barr, is responsible for coming out and trying to explain this mess to the American people as to how this was even possible. And from what we have learned, it sounds like from the jump, Bill Barr, whose father got Jeffrey Epstein hired at the Dalton School, which is
his first job that he was not qualified for.
Another web.
Yeah, another connection.
Another connection. Does everything he can to make sure that people aren't questioning whether or not this is a suicide. And the truth is everybody is questioning it.
Yeah.
One of the people that questions it off the jump is his brother and Jeffrey Epstein's brother. And Jeffrey Epstein's brother hires a private doctor to do a second autopsy. And this doctor says that the bone that was broken in Jeffrey Epstein's neck could not have been broken based on the way that he allegedly hung himself. That he was, in their opinion, was murdered and was silenced. And that's the narrative that they believe is what happened. They believe he is dead, but they believe that he did not kill himself. And there are unlimited list of people that would want him.
I was going to say, if he is dead, I would believe that he was taken out. I do not believe he took himself out.
No,
that is off the table for me.
I agree with you.
It's not a thing.
I think the idea that he...
No.
And the way that they try to corroborate the suicide and set it up is they say, in the days leading up, he transferred all of his assets to the Virgin Islands, and he knew he was out of there, kill himself, or he knew he was out of there, right? That he, basically realizes that now that he's been denied bond, there's never going to be a time where he's out of jail for the rest of his life, and that's what the assumption is as to why he actually kills himself. It's just too coincidental. That's what happens.
I just don't buy it.
No,
I don't buy it.
I don't either.
He is somebody who has gotten, and this is what I was saying to Brandon, like he is somebody who has gotten not just the first time in Palm Beach, but like every single time, even with like when he found out that he wasn't qualified to have certain jobs or positions, like he has never been held accountable ever.
No.
Why like somebody who commits suicide, usually somebody that feels down about.
They have no other choice.
Literally.
Right.
He definitely had options.
Of course he did.
And to say that this man had no options and to make me try to make the American people believe that is crazy. Like, I think that's crazy.
When they raided his house in New York, they found, and I talked about this in a prior episode, they found passports that were fake passports. They found a bag of diamonds. They found the tools that you would need if you were to get out of the country and hide your location, hide your identity, hide your whereabouts.
Yeah.
They found that. So the idea that he could get another fake passport in another country is very, very plausible.
Yeah.
So the fact that
look at who he's connected to
all across the world. He could have gotten a passport for any country that he had some sort of ties or connection to, or ones that he didn't have ties or connection to. He probably could have figured out a way to get some sort of passport. Which is what he's doing probably now, is probably somewhere, living out his life in either Paris or Tel Aviv or Canada or somewhere where he's not being,
bothered,
looked at, right, and not being chased. But one of the most interesting theories about his death, and this is one of the conspiracy theories, is the body swap theory.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, this is an interesting one. This goes down a rabbit hole.
This one, I kind of believe it.
So in the day, prior to the announcement that he had hung himself, a post comes out on the website 4chan. 4chan is it's
like Reddit.
Similar to Reddit. It's a messaging board site. And it's been tied to a lot of bad things over history, but it's, everything from all different types of chat boards online. There's a post that goes out on 4chan that says that Epstein was removed from the jail in the day or so before his suicide, was taken out in a wheelchair with handcuffs on the front, and was brought out by people in military fatigues, and was removed from the jail, and somebody else was brought in. And then all of a sudden the news comes out about his death. The theory, so this post comes out. It comes out before it's reported that he's dead. So automatically it's kind of interesting that this would come out.
Yeah.
And
how would this individual know that he's not alive at this point?
So what we know now, after the release of the documents, is that the Southern District of New York found that this was something important enough to investigate. So they did. And they filed subpoenas, and they filed with 4chan and with different banks to try to figure out who was the person that posted that. And they find that this person, Roberto Gravales, is a former corrections officer that was working there
that night
at the MDC that night, was working there when Epstein was allegedly taken out of the jail. And this person has been exposed as the person that posted this on 4chan. It corroborates and gives a whole new level of credibility to it because he actually did work there.
Yeah.
And this person is saying that at some point before,
how could he have known that?
Out.
How could he have known that? Especially if you're your average
Joe. Posted it like on a secret message board. Anonymously. Yeah. Not a secret message board, but posted it anonymously. And is saying.
Hence the subpoenas and the investigation.
Right. So the Southern District of New York finds that there's some credibility. There's something there because they're investigating it.
Right.
And that's what we ultimately find out. We know who the person was that posted it.
But, the DOJ would be responsible, essentially, if they said that this person was taken out of custody.
Well, yeah, of course.
So
the Department of
they have a reason to say he was
the Department of Corrections,
that's so much liability.
The person says there was no scheduled transport on their schedules. There was nothing that this should not have happened. There was nothing planning this. It was not known. And then we hear about the issues with the cameras, the issues with, guards sleeping or guards not paying attention, because those are that's what allegedly creates the window of time where things happen.
It just doesn't happen because you and I go into Palm Beach County Jail, let alone a maximum security prison where they house the worst criminals in the United States.
Correct.
And when we walk into the main detention center, we are literally there is no place that is not covered by a camera.
Correct.
Yes, there are not guards maybe in every single corner, but there's so much security. So to I think maybe to the public who everybody hasn't been able to walk through a detention center and see what it's like to be inside. But to say that the camera's glitching, all these guards are sleeping and all this shit is happening and that he ended up killing himself as a result. No.
Let's be very clear. When his bond is denied and he's no longer allowed to leave, the concern about suicide goes through the roof.
Yeah.
So if anything, they would be monitoring him more because they would think, there's a chance that this would happen and it can't happen on our watch. Let alone you have a couple of schmucks that are working there that are like patsies that are like, we're taking a nap or we're not looking at the cameras or we're not.
That's bullshit.
It's total bullshit.
And corrections officers, they're employed by the government. They don't get paid a lot. So they're easy to pay out. You can easily, with someone who has all the resources, you can make shit happen.
Correct.
And that's what I believe happened.
I think that it is highly plausible that he was swapped.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that it was a different. Now, when they do somehow when his body is taken out of the cell, there's a photograph of that. There's a photograph of his body his lifeless body on a gurney. And it looks very much like him, but it is so easy to fake that. There are all different things they could do. And I'm sure if they sent in a body double that looked just like him.
They probably got someone to get plastic surgery, and I don't fucking know. I don't know how they did it, what they did. I find that way more easier. Like, that's easier to believe for me.
It's easier to believe that than that there was an international child trafficking ring that was all of the most influential people in the world are all involved.
Yeah.
Like, it's a lot easier to believe that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
And this is where...
And the thing is, the reason why we say that is that because obviously of what we're saying in terms of like how we know how it works, but also there is corroboration and there is evidence to support that he was swapped. There was a witness and it was somebody that wouldn't be privy to this information
Correct.
Otherwise. So that's why we're saying that. It's not because we're actually like, No,
and you know what? Where is that guy? Where is that corrections officer?
Yeah.
Because that corrections officer, I've not seen him in public. I know the name because of the files being released, but where's that guy? Like, why isn't that guy being interviewed on mainstream media?
He's probably MIA.
Probably.
That's
probably in hiding, or they got rid of him.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Because there's no reason for them not to.
Another conspiracy.
Yeah, another conspiracy. Just a web of conspiracies.
Oh my God. Well, it's because we don't have all the information, so we have to come to our own conclusions.
That's right.
And so I guess the next thing is to talk about like I guess we did talk about if he's alive.
Yeah, well, I mean,
because everybody's posting these photos of him everywhere.
Yeah, there's people that post pictures of him all over allegedly all over the world. In Tel Aviv and Paris, there's pictures that pop up of him all the time. But would he, like, what about, like, why would he be out and about? Doesn't he have his own island? Like, why wouldn't he be on his island? So there was a person that flew a drone over the island in the weeks after he was dead. And see a guy with gray hair that resembles Jeffrey Epstein sitting in his golf cart. And the guy looks up at the drone, and when he sees the drone, moves back under the golf cart so he's hidden from view and then is gone out of sight. So there is something that puts a person that resembles Jeffrey Epstein back on the island. Now, I think going back to the island would probably be the dumbest thing.
Yeah,
because
you
that
just
would be
get
the
killed.
first place people would be looking for you if you were to escape from jail. It would be your own private island. That's probably the first place. So I think that it's probably unlikely it was him.
Nobody's going to go look for him over there. If they're saying
somebody did. Somebody took a drone and went over there and looked.
But did somebody actually go there?
They flew the drone over the island. It was right over the island looking at him.
Is there
pictures,
footage?
There's pictures of it, yeah. Oh, yeah. But you can't, it looks from the picture from the drone, it looks like from the top down, you see the gray hair.
That's what I'm saying.
You can't tell that it's him or not.
We need that. We need to go find out. Someone's got to go on... Whatever.
I
Not
know.
me.
I know.
Not me.
But, the questions become, why is he so important that they would swap a body or kill him or, help him escape? Why is he so important?
When you say they, you're talking about the government?
Whomever. Why would they do that? Why would they... And the answer comes down to what he was doing and what he was good at. And that was getting compromising material on everybody, that Kompromat. That is a tactic of clandestine services. So that is to say that it is plausible that he was a spy for one or more governments.
Yeah.
CIA, there's involvement with him. There's involvement with Mossad. There's connections in Israel. There's connections to the Russians. The truth of the matter is he could have been selling to everybody.
Yeah.
He could have been selling information to everybody and working for multiple people at once. It's very possible.
Yeah.
Or he was just working for one of these governments against, everybody else and everybody else's interests. But because of that role, that may be enough to keep him to say he's important enough of an asset to get him out. To save him. But that's also a reason to kill him because he's such a big asset. All the things he knows, all the information he has, some of it dies with him if he dies. So that's another reason to put in the death
category. Do you really think that? I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'm trying to think. I'm like, if I were one of these people, I'm trying to put myself in there, like, would they swap them out and then kill him? Or would they kill him in the detention center? You know what I mean? Like, for someone to go in there and actually carry that out.
Who knows?
Exactly.
Who knows? I mean, they could have sent in somebody to kill him in the cell and make it look like he hung himself, and then that be that.
Yeah, but like the body swap even like just makes way more sense to me.
The body swap theory makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Like,
and it's just like the fact that this guy said it beforehand.
It's even further corroborated by the brother saying that it was done by murder, because you know what? That body that was in there was murdered.
Right. Agreed.
So I don't think it's inconsistent. I think it actually goes together to further support that his body was swapped out.
Yeah, I agree with you.
But again, if his body was swapped out, we could also ask who swapped his body. Was it him or somebody else?
Well, he would have had to have had help from different...
Exactly. And he would have had to have trusted somebody.
Well, he would have had the help from different organizations or different...
And those organizations would very well want him dead.
As much as they would want him alive. Yeah.
Exactly. So that's what I'm saying. The body swap theory could be he's dead or alive. The result of it. Like,
that they took him out of the jail and then just killed him out of the jail and then just got rid of his body.
Exactly.
Yeah, they could have done that too.
Another conspiracy.
Another potential conspiracy.
But yeah, I mean, all these people would have reason to keep from having the case to go further, because they wouldn't want the evidence to come out. They wouldn't want it to go to trial. They wouldn't want him to snitch and say X, Y, and Z were involved or whatever. You know, like, there's so many avenues that could have resulted of him being in custody that could really like damage other people's involvement and their reputation. And if that's what obviously there could be more information that just hasn't come to light that I don't even know about, you know, because ignorance is bliss. But
to an extent. I mean, I feel like I wish I knew less about all this.
I know. The more I find out, I'm like, oh my God, this is really, really, really scary.
Yeah. And you know, we can talk about the other conspiracy theories that beyond this just being sex trafficking that we are aware of, where it was, you know, women and children being recruited and being sent to him and given amongst his friends and things like that. We also look at the theories that are coming up about this being even more obscene. The theories that there are coded language in a lot of these emails that center on things like pizza and jerky and
cream cheese.
Different things that are apparently related to not only trafficking in kids, but it's that they were eating people, that jerky potentially is for human, and that they were talking about his obsession with jerky, which if you look through the files, beef jerky and jerky of all different kinds comes up like incessantly. The information, there is people out there that are saying that is related to the consumption of other humans, that people were eating other humans, that people were killing children
because of the way they were talking about it in the emails. It was like please, like, thank you so much for the delivery. It was for the pizza delivery. It was delicious or something. Like, this isn't word for word, but it was like, that was like how it was written.
Right. And it's very clear that they're talking about the illegal activity.
Yes.
But what specifically is not necessarily clear. They're very clearly insinuating something.
They're not emailing each other about fucking pizza.
Right. But this opens up a whole other can of worms, because if you remember the Podesta emails that came out years ago, and Pizzagate with Hillary Clinton, where there was apparently a pizza shop that was being run by Hillary Clinton and Podesta that was trafficking children out of it. And people were like, this became this huge conspiracy theory on the internet, and it led to some guy actually going to a pizza shop outside of DC and like shooting up the pizza shop. And because these online conspiracies that this was involved with human trafficking. Well, now we see this pizza language being used in all of these emails, and now it starts to corroborate parts of that, what was everybody thought was a crazy conspiracy. Now these messages, why are they using the same types of coded language? Coded language that people have said for years references, children being trafficked, children being eaten.
Farmed and eaten.
Right. Like all of these things. And there's other evidence that supports that. There's videos of a model from Mexico that she is, I don't know if you've seen this video where she was like screaming to a bunch of people, a bunch of press people that they were eating humans, that they like, and she's going on and on and on and on, and she's nowhere to be heard from again. There's people that have come out and said that's what was going on, that this was like this was satanic cult level shit that was happening. And now you see all of these emails with language that supports those theories.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
things aren't
crazy.
So far-fetched anymore. And it's starting to feel like everything is connected.
Are seemingly
tied to Epstein somehow.
Correct.
And it's crazy to think that like all of this shit that we're talking about when like Hillary Clinton and both Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump, like when they were running against each other in 2016, involved in the same fucking shit.
Yeah.
Like, what?
And the truth of the matter is if either one of them were as implicitly, if there was the real dirt on either one of them, because there isn't, if there was real dirt on either one of them, they would have used it at that time. They would have used it.
Unless
you think she wouldn't have done anything she could to prevent him from becoming president or him do anything to her?
Unless it would further expose them of being.
It would. Because no matter what, they're all still involved.
So
because
I think
Bill is involved. So if Hillary tries to use the Epstein shit against Trump, it's a double-edged sword, and potentially vice versa.
And I think that they know better. I think they know better.
Maybe. And you know what? We don't know much because right now Hillary and Bill are being interviewed and they're taking depositions. Hillary, the day that we're filming this, Hillary was being deposed today. And her statement was that she does not ever remember meeting Jeffrey Epstein at all, is what her statement was.
I didn't see that.
Yeah. And then a picture of the deposition came out, like a picture from today of her being deposed came out, and they shut down the deposition because somebody leaked a picture of the deposition happening.
Yeah.
So that has been since shut down. And I don't know what is going to be the outcome of that.
Probably going to have to go into litigation.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? But the ties that this scandal has touched unfortunately, no pun intended. It's touched everybody and every political affiliation, religious group, nationality. People of all walks of life are impacted by this and involved to some extent. Yeah. There's people at the highest levels of the governments that run the most important countries in the world are involved.
Yeah.
And there's evidence supporting the claims against all these people.
Yeah.
And it just, the more that is dug, the more the people dig, the more you're seeing like
we're going to find out. Yeah. We're going to keep finding out more stuff. Yeah. Like this is definitely not the end of like Epstein Files.
No.
Yeah.
No.
There's definitely more to come. Like this is not even.
No, because this is just like, and the truth is the rich and powerful, they protect each other.
Yeah.
And they're still going to do everything they can to protect each other.
Yeah.
The information that comes out very slowly. Like it's not all.
Well, not only that, it's literally a bunch of files that you would have to like you yourself sift through and make the connection yourself. It's like when we get discovery, we have to figure out how the state's going to put their case. They're not going to tell us.
Right.
And sometimes discovery is hundreds of pages.
In this situation, it's 3.5
million
files, right?
Exactly. So it's just like take that and multiply it and then
but also give it to the world and let all of the
come to their own conclusions.
Personal investigate, the different social media investigators, give it to them to try to figure out and put a spin on it.
Oh, this is what not me episode 1, I had a brain fart, and I'm now just remembering
Fair enough.
to say. But it was because you said social media investigators, but it's the fact that this man had so many private investigators working for him, because we were talking about the storage units, and he hired a bunch of private investigators working for him. That shit, that is sketchy. Like,
Well, that's another big conspiracy.
Exactly.
But a lot of those private investigators were hired through or in conjunction
His
with
attorneys.
the criminal attorneys that he was
Exactly.
hiring. Right.
Which, I mean, they're not necessarily completely innocent either. I mean, one of his attorneys also was, I mean, I shouldn't say one, but his attorneys were also accused of being involved or complicit.
Multiple attorneys are accused of being complicit
or
not
at least
necessarily
helping
complicit
hide information.
Correct.
Which is illegal.
That they knew things.
Yeah.
Right.
If you know someone's about, like, if we know our clients are about to commit a crime, that's not necessarily privilege.
Well, how about if you know your client's going to be served with a search warrant and you direct that that the house get cleaned out?
My ass is on the line.
Are you kidding?
And the fact that those lawyers are still, I mean, I'm not saying, like, it's just crazy, because that would never fly with us. We would probably.
Some of those lawyers are dead now.
Yeah.
Not
actually practicing. Yeah, you're saying they're not actually practicing till now, is what you're saying.
Well, no. I literally mean, like, Roy Black is dead.
Yeah.
Like, Roy Black is very heavily involved with.
I mean, his shit is all everywhere.
There's things that are saying that he directed, evidence to be either hidden
he could be in possession of the child porn.
Potentially, he could be in possession of the
all the
hard
illegal
drives
information
and the other evidence that could really be used to prosecute other people.
Yeah, and covered under the name of attorney-client privilege.
A lot of it, yeah.
Which is fucking crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyways, this was fun.
Yeah,
I enjoyed it.
The truth is that there are, certain things, certain conspiracies have kind of been debunked, right? Like, so I'll give you an example of one. There was this theory that Jeffrey Epstein had a bank account that was named Baal, Baal, which is some demonic, mythological type of, satanic creature or whatever the fuck, okay? And there was a whole theory that he had a bank account that was named after this guy, and oh my God, how would he be so obvious and so blatant? People did a little bit more investigating, and the paperwork that said Baal on it was misprinted, and it should have said balance. And it was the balance amount for that account. And it was not an account named after some, like,
that's so dumb.
Some, like, devil creature.
Yeah.
So, like, there are certain theories that will get debunked. And I think the more that people are able to research and find out, certain things will be, debunked.
Yeah.
Whether, but whether or not they were consuming humans and other things, like, I don't think that is ever going to be debunked. I don't,
How are we going to, we don't know. Yeah, we will never know.
We don't know.
Yeah.
And it's really crazy because, like, all of if the term jerky really does mean human meat, like, there are emails where they're talking about jerky and jerky recipes, and they talk about a restaurant called Cannibal. Like, some of this shit is so fucking obvious that it's just hard to overlook. It's just like, it's hard. And all of the things that we're talking about, like, if you go into the records and you just do a search of these words, like, you'll find all of this stuff.
Yeah.
It can all be, looked at and disclosed. And some of the files themselves that people think you can't see, or if you search in the Epstein files, if you search, image not processed, and you find, hundreds and hundreds of pages of things that are image not processed. Well, if you just change the letters at the end of the hyperlink from .pdf to .mov or .mp4, and you play around with a little bit, a lot of these files that are supposedly hidden are not hidden. And you can see videos, you can see pictures, you can see certain things that are supposed to be quote unquote hidden.
Because they're sharing the actual file.
Because the file, exactly right. And
like, computer nerds can figure it out. Like, maybe not me and you, but somebody else can do it.
But somebody else is figuring it out, and we're getting the information that it's now been figured out. And it just opens up new levels of, conspiracy theories and wormholes and, not wormholes, excuse me, rabbit holes that people will go down.
I was like, oh, that's a new thing I haven't heard.
Well, wormholes is that space. So we're not too far off from science fiction with some of this stuff.
Yeah.
So it's like any of this can be tied together. It's wild. There's a lot of information.
Well, there's definitely going to be more to come with at least the new arrest that came out in the UK. Like that just happened. So we don't know how that's going to uncover and unfold. And there's more going to come from that. So like there is just so much that's still developing right now that it's still going to be like a hot topic. And I think that this is something like we should definitely stay on top of and like continue discussing because it's definitely very relevant.
Yeah. I don't think that this information, I don't think this shit didn't end.
No.
This is still going on.
That's what I'm saying.
And
it's
there
very
are still
active.
people that are doing these things, and there are still people that are trafficking humans, and there's still this is all still going on. And the fact that Epstein, the asset, is no longer in play doesn't mean that these other countries don't have other assets that are in play, and that there's other rings of pedophiles, and that there's other,
especially if we're talking about like
the
satanic ring that we're talking about. It's probably something that stemmed from that he got from Maxwell that ultimately like he adopted or whatever in terms of ideology or whatever, you know what I mean? And that could have been something that if he is a part of, that's still very well alive, like and going. Why would it die because Epstein is gone or out of the picture?
Right.
You know what I mean? I don't think that there's definitely like even outside of Epstein, there's so much more involved that we don't know about and that we probably will never know about. But in terms of right now and in terms of like Epstein, I think there is still like we're gonna, even though we're saying like we're not gonna know everything, I think there's gonna be so much more that's gonna come out in the next few months, in the next year. Even
people are still processing all these documents and reviewing all these documents. I mean, there's new videos that come out weekly about things, but what is important aside from the documents that come out is what is happening globally. What are the ramifications? People being arrested, people being, taken out of powerful positions, and, their reputations coming to light.
Yeah.
We've talked about all of these different people. All these people that are involved, all their reputations it's all coming to light that they had connections or they were involved. And a lot of the people that said, oh, I had nothing to do with him or I was never involved with him. Now you see all this shit and all these emails. It's like you were lying.
And the fact that you're stepping down. If you were really innocent, listen, I'm standing right freaking here. I'm not going nowhere. Yeah. I'm standing in my position. I didn't do anything wrong. Like I would not step down just because there are like allegations that are not true. If I was so confident that it was not true, I'm staying right here.
But you also have to think like Goldman Sachs doesn't want this hanging over their
Well, no, from the company's perspective.
Like the companies that have hired
different.
DP Global doesn't want this hanging over their head and fucking with their contracts and messing with like people that are willing to do business with them. Like these companies are too big to do that.
Yeah.
They just.
Yeah. It's like, well, yeah, from the company's position for sure.
Yeah.
But from, I don't know, just like even the Harvard, the guy from Harvard.
Yeah.
Like things like that. It's like, I'm like, okay, just because like if you're really so innocent and have no personal relationship and you're strictly professional, what's the issue? So I don't know.
The connections, all the connections are so deep. Like you look at one of the things that I found really interesting was Ghislaine Maxwell. So she tries to, after Epstein gets in trouble the first time, she tries to distance herself and tries to come up with a foundation, Terramar. You know about this, Terramar? She tried to come up with like this foundation to like save the oceans. And she was a big time philanthropist. She did a fucking TED Talk. She was all over. Terramar is funded by the Clinton Initiative. So again, that connection, that the Clintons basically paid for this thing, Terramar, and Terramar is also known to having a very young internship program where Ghislaine Maxwell, who's at the head of that, is again continuing with her ability to run
whatever show she's running.
Ring. Right.
Yeah.
And
she's just like, oh, I don't need you anymore. You're in trouble. Goodbye. I can't be caught with you.
They were also trying to come up with a way to give people these citizenship of the ocean type of passports, so that you were basically like a citizen of the ocean. So that way you know, what you do on the ocean, you can't be held accountable for type of shit. And like, there's all of this web of whatever they do, whatever activities they're involved in, there's always a nefarious element to it. And there's something that, that project, which is like, save the oceans type of shit. Like, you should see there, she gave a TED talk where she's talking through her,
how she's a philanthropist and doing such good work for doing God's work.
Fucking world. And in reality, she's just she's trafficking kids and has been a prolific human trafficker her whole life.
Literally.
Now, this is before she gets in trouble and she gets taken down.
Yeah.
But let's turn to her. I saw the videos of the deposition that she allegedly gave recently, where she basically pleads the fifth the entire time.
Yeah.
That certainly doesn't look like any other videos I've ever seen of her before.
No.
And if you put her pictures side by side and you start doing, facial measurements and measurements of her teeth and her nose and her chin, none of that shit matches up with her.
Not the same person.
There's who's to say that when she was transferred, because she was put in a different facility, who's to say when she was transferred to a different facility, she didn't get the same body swap treatment and she's out and about and doing her own thing.
Exactly. Or even other things that we wouldn't know about, because the spotlight really wasn't on Maxwell as much as it was on Epstein. Right. Until he's dead. Then they try to bury her. And, one of the good things about the Maxwell prosecution was it really allowed for a lot of the victims to have their day in court. It allowed for them a bunch of different victims to testify in court and confront their accuser and get some sort of result from that. That at least, those people were never able to confront Jeffrey Epstein in court for various reasons. In the early case, because the government made everything hush-hush, dropped the ball, and Palm Beach rushed to close the case. In the new case, he's dead, so that case didn't continue. But, the judge, even in the judge in the 2019 case, when the motion to dismiss the charges against him was filed because he was dead, that judge still allowed victims to come in and give their, have they
a day in court.
and
they should all be exactly right. Should be given their day in court.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, as I know, we're defense attorneys, but the law still stands. So that's they should. We're defense attorneys, but we don't stand for the premise of fucking human trafficking. And those are. I'm just saying, because I'm not necessarily saying every victim should always have their day in court, but I'm saying under that law of having to the federal law to be the right to be heard and the right to be notified, even with a motion to dismiss, I do believe that victims should be in court being able to be heard, even if this person's dead, and it will result in a dismissal. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah, absolutely. We all know what's going to happen, but still, that they deserve that, you know? I completely agree with you. And I think that, one of the things that the defense attorneys in the Maxwell case tried to do when they were cross-examining these victims was try to assert, all they attacked their credibility. Yeah. They victim shamed them. They tried to say, you got all this money from Epstein's estate, because some of them did wind up getting money from Epstein's estate, and tried to attack their credibility. And the difference between that trial and the grand jury that happened in the early 2000s in Palm Beach is you can attack the credibility of one witness. But when you have multiple witnesses all saying the same thing, all saying the same type of conduct occurred, all making the allegations that are the same, regardless of the background that they had and their own personal, circumstances, it is very clear and becomes a clear picture that is what happened. Yeah. That conduct did happen. And there was no way for
her lawyers to attack the credibility of these victims enough that it made it seem like this stuff didn't happen.
Yeah.
And because it did. It did. And it's been documented by hundreds and hundreds of victims that we know of, hundreds of victims that we know of, that this is exactly the type of conduct that happened. She was very much the ringleader behind a lot of the human trafficking and the prostitution and procuring these women for Epstein and for his friends and pals. And like, she was very much, you know, Maxwell was very, very involved.
Yeah.
And is as culpable, if not more, than Epstein, because she put a lot of these people in, she fed the monster.
The fact that she's serving a 20-year sentence, like, interesting. That's crazy.
Is she serving a 20-year sentence?
Well, whatever. You know, that's another conspiracy. Is she in custody or not?
No, I unfortunately, the video that we saw recently that made it look like she was in Canada turned out to be a fake. So that video was like really good AI.
Yeah.
But,
that's the other thing. AI kind of is fucking with things right now.
Well,
so.
yeah, and that adds to the conspiracy theories.
Yeah. All of this is a conspiracy.
Right. It completely adds to it. But there's, you know, it's a lot. And ultimately the question is whether or not these co-conspirators or other guilty people are going to be held accountable, and whether or not, you know, there's evidence out there to get them. And I think there's more investigating that should be done. And I think the evidence to go after more people is out there.
100%.
It's just a matter of getting that evidence and wanting to prosecute those people.
Yeah, they're not.
And there's no incentive.
Yeah.
And this is not, you know, this is not just a shot at this DOJ. This is a shot at the DOJ for the last 20 plus 30 years.
Yeah.
Not doing anything about it.
Yeah.
And protecting people at the top and potentially protecting one of their own, because if Epstein was working for the CIA, they're protecting one of their own. Not
just one, but many, but yeah.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
So, you know, the connections, the idea that he was some sort of asset, I don't think is I think there's so much evidence that supports that. He was working for some government under some capacity.
I mean, even just the deal he did with Catherine Rummel.
Yeah.
Like even with just with the DOJ. Like even
to help the Rothschild Bank.
Like that's a public.
And think about that. That's a big, that in itself is a conspiracy. Rothschild, the bank in Europe, the Rothschild family members that are still alive and around, a lot of them had interactions with Epstein, and he was handling money for a lot of them. And those are some of the richest people in the world.
I mean, they were insider. They were inside trading.
Biggest bank in Europe.
Exactly.
The European banks, like they run the majority of the money through Europe. Like he was
and their clients,
at the top of them, and they were his client.
Yeah, exactly. That's my point. And their clients were the wealthiest people.
Still are.
Yeah.
Banks still in business.
Mm-hmm.
They still are the wealthiest people.
Yeah.
And like that, the connection between the Rothschild and there's so much money there that's enough to say what is a reason to either kill him or keep him alive or whatever.
Yeah, like
just that connection alone is enough of a thing that sparks a big conspiracy.
Oh my God. Yeah.
It's wild, and it just gets deep. It goes the more that you look into it, the more that it gets deeper and deeper.
Yeah.
And it's just, but then again, like you get, you know, it gets crazier and crazier the further you go. But the truth is, look, everybody out there needs to do your own research.
Yeah.
Do your own homework. Don't just believe what you're being fed by anybody or anything, because things are not what they seem. One of the things that we talked about in earlier in this series is the ability to have so much power and have so much money. Not only the control is also of the narrative.
Yeah.
And if you can control the media and you can control, social media or the news or the certain technology that we all absorb, you can control what is being fed to everybody and what is being told. So the stories that don't come out for a reason.
Yeah.
They're being stopped. There were other people that investigated Epstein in years, other years. There were magazines that tried to do stories on him and that fell apart.
Yeah.
There were other people that tried to say what he was doing for years and it didn't manifest to anything.
That's true.
And that's because the most powerful people control the narrative. They can control what the message is to the globe. So that means whether it's the mainstream media or what they're feeding you or what you're hearing from an investigator on Instagram, like you need to verify to the best of your ability what information you're absorbing, because just because it's coming from a news outlet doesn't necessarily mean it's true anymore.
Yeah.
And we are in a day and age where it's like, be very careful what information you trust.
Yeah.
You have to do your own homework and be careful with the sources that you rely on.
Yeah. I mean, in the interest of truth seeking, I don't know how much of the truth we'll actually get ever, because I really think that based off what you're saying, it's really making me feel like we really don't know what we think we know, and what we think we know could be.
We are the sheep.
Yeah, literally.
We're being fed by all the information that we get. Like we don't know.
That's really
years ago, people would read the newspaper or watch the news on TV and be like, "Oh, they're telling me this. It's got to be true." That's not the case anymore.
Right.
We've seen over the past 10 years that that's not the case anymore. Like things are very different.
Yeah.
What you see on the news oftentimes is just a biased product of what the people that own the news want you to see.
Or are being paid by whoever.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It's the narrative they want out there.
Right.
Versus what the actual truth is. And it gets a lot harder to figure out what the truth is ultimately.
Yeah.
But that's why you do your own homework, you connect the dots that are actually there, and you can start to see, based on the things that are out there, that a lot of the quote-unquote conspiracies really are not that far-fetched.
No.
And there's evidence to support a lot of the things that we are learning about every day in this case.
Yeah.
Oh
my God. So crazy. That was a really good wrap up, I feel. Well, if you liked listening to this episode, we will definitely be doing more Epstein updates. So make sure you stay tuned. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. We're on all platforms. Come back with a warrant.pod. Subscribe to our newsletter. Give us a 5-star review and check out our merch online. And if you didn't like listening to us,
come back with a warrant.
The San Francisco Symphony performs Berlioz's bold and dramatic masterpiece, Symphonie Fantastique. Then pianist Jean-Yves Thibaudet brings his unmistakable artistry to the spotlight for a performance of Saint-Saëns Piano Concerto No. 5. Experience it live at the San Francisco Symphony, March 26 through 28. Tickets at sfsymphony.org.